Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and we are continuing our Ninjago Summer 2025 coverage. We've already taken a look at some of the biggest sets of the wave, but now we'll take a look at one of the smaller ones. This is Rogue's Mech Dragon, the mech that Jay finds as he explores the realm of Lee. It's a really interesting set because it of course features Jay in his rogue outfit on a mech on a dragon. It's literally a Jay jockey. So let's take a look at this brand new LEGO Ninjago set right now. Okay, this is 71843, Rogue's Mech Dragon Rider, also known as the J Jockey. It comes with 584 pieces and retails for a rather high $75 US and 70 euros. It also comes with 4 minifigs, one of which is exclusive to the set in the form of Rox, a member of the Forbidden Five and the Elemental Master of Fear. It also comes with Rogue, who we saw in the January wave, although this time he is without armor because he has to fit in the mech, a Spectral Draonian Warrior complete with a full set of wings and ghostly tail, and the black suit version of Aaron wielding one of the new reveal blades for this summer. The set depicts a mech riding a mechanical dragon, which is a pretty unique concept. We haven't really seen that before, even though we have been seeing a lot of mech riding different vehicles in the past few years. We started with Kai's Mech Bike Rider, which was a mech riding a motorcycle. Earlier this year, we had Kai's Mech Storm Rider, which was a mech riding some sort of a jet, and now we have Jay's mech riding a mechanical dragon, so at least this time they're kind of switching things up. The one interesting thing I like about the set is that the dragon itself doesn't feel like a traditional Ninjago dragon. It feels almost like a raptor from Jurassic Park or some sort of a chicken-like character, which is why a lot of people have taken to calling this the J Jockey, because it really does look like he's sitting on top of some sort of a chicken or dinosaur-like dragon hybrid, which is actually something I really like about the set. I like that it tries to do something new compared to a lot of the other dragons we have gotten from Ninjago before. All that to be said though, the actual build itself is honestly not the most interesting thing. It's very, very basic in the way it's constructed, pretty much just studs on either side. It just has a curve upwards for studs on the side for the front, which I think is nice, but there really isn't that much articulation that you can get out of it. That being said, despite the limited articulation, you can actually get this in pretty dynamic poses, as you just saw. The wings and being able to move the claws on the ends of the wings definitely do help a lot. And taking a look at the headpiece, they have recolored the Ninjago core dragon headpiece, this time in white and transparent yellow, to allow for a more lightning-like design, as well as introduced the smoke trail or ghost trail smoke elements for Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 3 Part 2 in transparent yellow, and this is the only set they come in that color. I actually really like the placement of these pieces. They feel like smoke contrails coming out of the mouth. As it's roaring, you can almost imagine electricity shooting out of the mouth itself, and it's a really interesting design. I do appreciate it. The one thing I'm not the biggest fan of though is whenever Ninjago uses these large pre-molded dragon elements but without really any sort of brick-built head to go along with them. This one isn't quite as bad as some other instances because I guess it is supposed to be robotic and mechanical, so I can sort of excuse the Exoforce robot arms being used, but it is very unfortunate that in order to move the head around, it is very, very easy to accidentally get the jaw out of place. As you can see here, it's kind of swinging back and forth all over the place, and it's really easy just to get things misaligned, and it really just takes a little bit of extra effort to make sure everything's lined up. Add to the fact that the socket is on the bottom jaw, so moving the upper jaw will just cause it to get misaligned even more, and I just really wish they did a building technique similar to what we've seen in other LEGO Ninjago sets, using some of these same pieces like Lloyd's Legendary Dragon, which had a whole brick-built exterior to kind of go around the molded heads. Although designers have stated that is usually an unnecessary use of budget, because if they can get away with just using a couple of pieces to attach the jaws, then they should do that and spend the rest of the budget on the rest of the set. So I understand it, but it's just something I did want to call out. Removing the mech though, we can take a look at the dragon on its own, and here it really does get that sort of raptor-like stance, the two long back legs, the shorter upper arms, but this time it has the wings on the sides of the arms as well, and I actually do like the vinyl elements being used for the wings here. I think it is actually pretty well done. Taking a look at the articulation of the build, it doesn't have quite as much articulation as you'd think. There are dual ball joints, but those cannot rotate back and forth, so you can only sway the feet side to side, and while you can move the legs backwards and forwards and splay them outwards, there's honestly not that much you can do with the legs because the feet themselves are fixed. That being said, you can actually articulate the fingers. They are all mounted on mixel joints for the hands themselves as well, so you can actually get this into some interesting poses despite the lack of articulation. And that's something I do appreciate. You really have to work with the articulation that you have given to you, but you can get it in some sort of a crouching pose. Imagine that it's stalking some sort of enemy down here, or you can have it stand all the way straight up, have the wings be furled outwards, and it really does give you a good range of dynamic motion, even though there really are only just a couple of articulation points. It helps that the wings are mounted on ball joints, so you can kind of angle them pretty much any direction you want, and I like the addition of the jet engines on the sides of the wings as well. I feel like those just add a little bit of character and extra detail to the mech. Altogether, the color scheme of dark blue, light gray, and white with a hint of yellow is actually really well done. I like it as an electricity-themed color scheme, and overall, the Mech Dragon itself is pretty decent. I ended up liking this a lot more than I initially thought, especially when I first saw images of the set. I wasn't really that keen on it, but when I built it myself, I realized that this is actually quite a lot of fun, and it is pretty nice in flight as well. Moving on to the mech, let's take a look at Rogue's mech, and this is pretty much just using the standard core mech template, but I will say this might actually be the best one we have gotten from Ninjago yet, and a lot of that has to do with the construction of the way the arms are done, with the addition of a pauldron. I think a pauldron, as I mentioned in my review of the Fire Knight mech, some sort of a cape element on robots or mechs always makes them 1,000 times cooler, and that absolutely is the case here. I really like how you have this Rogue and J sort of symbol on the side of the pauldron there, and the rest of the build really mimics the design of the minifig as well. I also like how the shoes are utilizing these traditional Japanese style sandals, something that we did see back in the Combiner mech with Lloyd and Aaron for Dragon's Rising Season 1 at a much larger scale, but one that actually really does work for a smaller mech like this. As I just mentioned, the design of the mech really mimics the design of the Rogue minifigure, and that's another thing I love about this set. It almost feels like a scaled up version of Rogue, and you're about to find out why in a second. The only downside, which is pretty much the same downside as most of these core style of mechs, is that you can't articulate the hands, so the weapon is a little bit awkward to pose. You can't really have it angled outwards or angled to the side. You really just have to move them with the side of the arms, because the hands are just attached to the lower arms. There really is no delineation between them, and that's definitely something that I wish was improved about these models, but then again, I definitely understand why they didn't do it. Every single time you include a joint in a LEGO set, the budget internally does go up, and also it makes it a little bit harder for kids to play around and pose if you have more joints. So especially since this is aimed at younger kids, I can see why they chose not to do it, and it poses okay without it. Comparing this to the Rogue minifigure though, I do really want to point out it actually is really cool, because on Rogue you can see that he has this dark tan sort of cloth going around his arm. There isn't any sort of piece to represent it, there's no fabric, but you do have it brick built into the minifigure mech itself, which I think is a really nice touch. It just adds so much character to the mech, and it makes it distinctly a Rogue mech and not even just a regular J Lightning mech like we would have gotten in the past. This is very distinctly a different type of color scheme for J in his Rogue disguise. You've got the dark blue figured in, you've got the dark tan highlights for the cloth all around his mech, and altogether it is a really nice design. There's even a spot to hold the weapon. The way it attaches onto the dragon here is also super simple. There's just a series of clips underneath the mech, right in between the legs, and you just go ahead and attach it up to the saddle here. It just clicks right on, and it's super easy. There you go. Rogue is now riding his mech. You want me to fight the dragon? Rogue jockey! That is what it is, right there. Rogue is riding the dragon. So altogether, what do I think of this set? Honestly, I genuinely think this set is a lot of fun to play with. I ended up liking this set a lot more after building it than I initially thought I would after first seeing images. The big problem with this set is the price. $75 is frankly ridiculous for a set like this. It doesn't really matter to me that it does include a really cool minifig in the form of rocks as well as the Spectral Draonian. All that matters is, am I getting enough value out of what I pay for this set? And the the answer is a decided no. Even if it was $70, I would say that is way too high. 584 pieces, yes, some of them are vinyl elements, but for what you get, having this in hand, it does not feel more than $50. Maybe 55 and at best 60, but 75 is kind of ridiculous for this. It's not the most ridiculously priced set of the wave. Unfortunately, that prize will go to a set with less pieces than this one, which either we've reviewed already or we're going to be reviewing very soon. But it is just a little disappointing that I feel like a very decent set like this might get hit because $75 is so much to pay for it. It looks so good in flight, it is genuinely fun to play with. I like the color scheme and how the dragon is a different color scheme than the mech. Altogether, it's a really fun toy, but that price is just not justifiable, and even though this was sent to me for free by LEGO, I have to give my honest review of the set, and I feel like I can't quite recommend it at the full price point. It's a good set, just not $75 good. With that, I do want to spend some time to look at the minifigures at the end of the review, like always. We have seen this version of Aaron a lot of times before. He first appeared in the March wave of sets, and technically this suit torso design appeared in the January wave, so it's nothing necessarily new, but it is interesting to get another version of Aaron in his black suit, and the accessories in the form of the lantern and the reveal blade are quite nice as well. Moving on to the newer minifigures in the set though, I do want to focus in on the Spectral Draonian Warrior. This is actually one of the only sets that does give you a full-on Spectral Draonian Warrior complete with wings. It's actually really weird how that doesn't appear in full form in really any of the other sets. Technically we get Tyr, but Tyr has a specialized different colored skull, so that one doesn't really count in Lloyd's Jet Mech, and all the other versions of this character don't have the dragon on the back, so this is technically the only one that is accurate to the show, which is really strange, especially coming off of the first half of the year where all the Dragonians were fully armored up. That being said, I certainly cannot complain because this is a really well done minifigure. It makes me wish that all of the Dragonians came with all of these full-on pieces with the dragon. If you have any of the previous one half of the year sets, you know exactly how these Dragonians work. You have this sort of fire-like design on the back, this time showcasing the logo of the Forbidden Five, as well as the Dragonian face, and then you have a dark blue recolor of the Dragonian armor. You've got the helmet on the top there, which also can kind of double as the skull, the dragon, which separates from the back, but we don't see those separate in the show. Those are basically just supposed to be their wings in the show, and altogether, it's a really well done figure. I actually love the integration of the transparent elements, and I really appreciate the fact that they did decide to give them brand new headpieces this time around, as opposed to what we got last year for the Wolf Mask Warriors. When they got a new color redesign, we just had the same headpieces, so these do feel all new. And I like the variation as well. Some of them have legs, some of them have ghost tails, and that is reflected in the show as well. It also has a flag which has a Thunderfang-like design, which can be showcased with the reveal blade here. The way the gimmick of the sets works is much like LEGO Explorians or LEGO Alpha Team Deep Freeze. You basically hold this transparent red piece over your lens here, and you can see some sort of a hidden symbol which becomes apparent only when looking through a red lens. It's very obvious what the symbol is supposed to be even without the reveal blade, but I like that it does add a little bit of extra interactivity to the way that these minifigures are set up. Rogue himself is a tad of a downgrade compared to his previous iterations that we've seen both in the January wave of this year, as well as in the Temple Bounty, the larger set of the wave, because this time he doesn't have his shoulder armor. That's for a reason though, and that's because his shoulder armor would not allow him to fit cleanly in the mech, so they decided to remove the shoulder armor for this version of the figure, just give us the standard Rogue minifigure by itself, which is an alright compromise. I still love the design of this figure. It is one of my favorite Ninjago minifigures to come out this year. I just think it's really remarkably well produced, and the long weapon is quite nice as well. It kind of mimics the weapon that the mech holds in the set, which is another thing I didn't call out when reviewing the mech. They really did try to make it feel like it is just a large upscaled version of Jay, which I think is super cool. And that's the headpiece he gets underneath, pretty neat, but it also would have been cool to get a hairpiece too for at least one of these sets, given that he has a very unique hairpiece in the show. And finally, we have Rox, the Elemental Master of Fear and co-leader of the Forbidden Five alongside Noct. Rox is a great minifigure. It's actually our first Ninjago minifigure to feature mid-legs, which is a really interesting design choice for a villain to actually have the mid-legs, but I guess it shows that the Forbidden Five aren't all the same. Rox is a member of the Wolf Clan, plan, and that's not immediately obvious by the headpiece. They chose not to give us molded heads for the Forbidden 5, which I guess makes sense because that would have added a lot of extra cost to producing them, but she does have a really nice print on an orange head. That wasn't really what I was expecting. The orange feels a little bright compared to what we've seen in the show, but I guess it kind of works. I just kind of was expecting maybe like a brighter light orange or something a bit of a lighter shade, but I do love that head print. The mask is very menacing, and I love how the torso design is done as well. You've almost got these kind of terrified looking faces alongside the kimono there, which really is keeping in tune with the elemental master of fear. If only we were to see the element of fear used in the show, because I don't think it's ever going to be used. Altogether though, it's a really great minifigure, and it's great to finally be able to complete the Forbidden 5. I have a lot of thoughts on the distribution of these figures. I don't think this should have been exclusive to one set. I really do feel like they should have made the distribution a little bit nicer for the Forbidden 5, but I'll save those thoughts when we talk about the minifigures as a whole for this wave. As of right now, Rox is easily the highlight minifig of the set, and for good reason. It's a major new villain that we have seen throughout the course of Dragon's Rising, even throughout Season 2 near the end of it, so it's very cool to get her as a minifigure finally. And with that, we have summed up our look at Rogue's Mech Dragon Rider. This is a very mixed set for me. It's genuinely a lot of fun to play with, but the price just keeps me from being able to recommend it. Still, there are a lot of things to love about the set. I like the lightning contrails along the side of the mouth, the way the color scheme contrasts really nicely from the dragon to the mech, the dark tan integrated into the mech, the pauldron on the mech looks so cool as well. There's a lot of really neat elements here. And this, of course, has been designed by Li Chi-wing, one of the best designers on the Ninjago team today, who is also responsible for some of the greatest Ninjago sets, just like the Source Dragon of Motion and even the Dragonstone Shrine. So Ninjago is in very, very good hands with this designer. Altogether, this is a really nice and fun thing to play with, but the price just is not worth it for me. That's all I have to say about this build. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Thank you so much for tuning into Duckbricks, and be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye for now.